guys, Talia, founder of Workweek Lunch here, and tonight we are going to make chicken stock from scratch. I'd love to hear from you guys. Who has made chicken stock before? Tell me in the comments. I want to let you know you will see raw chicken in this video, so just be warned if you don't like looking at raw meat, this might not be the video for you. I have my chicken carcass here that I broke it down myself. I got it from ButcherBox, and I think ButcherBox has really quality meat. This isn't an ad, I just really like them. So I broke it down, I have the carcass left over, and I'm ready to cook it. So I also have frozen bones from chicken that I've used and I've eaten in the last few months or weeks, I guess. So I can also make stock with this. And I'm gonna basically do two separate stocks. I'm gonna be honest, I've never done the method with bones like this that I've eaten before, like from cooked chicken, so I don't want it to screw with the broth from the carcass, just in case something goes wrong. So I'm making a pot that's a little smaller and a pot that's a little bigger over here. Stock is cooked longer, but the main difference is seasoning. So you do not season stock. You don't add salt, pepper, or anything else. You add seasoning to broth. So that's the main difference. Both can be made with bones, but broth can be made with just meat pieces, not bones. You need bones for stock. So those are some of the differences between the two. Stock has like an earthier depth of flavor. Broth can be sipped and enjoyed and just kind of used, and it's also made in like an hour. Let's do our first pot here. Turn on the heat. We have a bag of bones. I'm gonna try not to touch them so much. I don't want to wash my hands constantly. So these are bones from a chicken, chicken thighs, chicken legs, and wings, what I've eaten basically. And then this is our carcass. It's going in this other pot here. All right. Cool, I didn't have to touch it again. All right. So I'm gonna turn the heat on for both of these. I did not bake the bones. If you want like a lot of flavor, you can roast or bake the bones prior to making stock, which will have a lot more flavor. I'm not doing that stuff right now just because I didn't feel like it, but you can totally do that. So I have both my pots going here. The first thing I'm gonna add is water. Now I've made this mistake too many times. I always add too much water and my broth isn't very flavorful. So you don't really need that much. You kind of just want to cover the chicken and then you're good to go. So that's what we're gonna do. I might have to fill this up a few times. Let's pour this down in here. So we don't add seasoning to stock, but we can add vegetables. Vegetables will make it more flavorful. So I've saved, this says veg stock on it. I've saved a bunch of vegetables I'm gonna throw in here. I have parsley stems, I have onions, I have all kinds of vegetables in here that I can use. You can also use mirepoix, that's M-I-R-E-P-O-I-X, mirepoix, but it's pronounced mirepoix, which is just a mixture of carrots, onions, and celery. I don't have those on hand right now. Actually, I have some in the freezer, but I'm saving it for chicken soup, so I don't wanna use them in my stock. I'm gonna use veg scraps instead. You don't need to add vegetables, but it definitely enhances the flavor, especially onions. They do a lot. So here's how much water I'm making for this little guy. And you wanna bring it to a boil. So I have the flame going full force. If you buy rotisserie chicken and you have that carcass left at the end, you can use that for stock. It doesn't have to be raw chicken like I'm using tonight. You can totally use the bones and other pieces from chicken that you bought at the store and you just have leftover bones. So you don't add vegetables because there's gonna be some fat rising to the top and it's gonna be easier to get the fat off when there's no vegetables in there. So I'll show you what I mean when that starts happening to these pots. But you do wanna skim off any fat or impurities that come up because it'll help your stock be clearer, tastier. Also, you just don't really want solid fat in your stock. It doesn't really work for soups. The thing is though, if you don't do a really good job of skimming the fat off the stock, when it goes in the fridge, it'll separate. The fat will rise to the top and the stock will stay at the bottom, so you can just scoop it out. We're starting to see a little bit of some stuff rising to the top on this one. There's that little guy floating right there. But not too much yet, but stuff is always gonna float. It's not bad. What I'm gonna do is I have a little discard bowl here, and I'm going to kind of use a spoon to skim it. Sometimes I use a strainer so that I don't lose a lot of the stock. So I'll sometimes use something like this to just kind of dip, get the fat out, and scoop it out in here. So there's a couple ways you can do it. So obviously you want to freeze stock, and my tool of choice are Super Cubes. So these are, I don't work for them, this is not an ad, I just like this company. Super Cubes are silicone molds. These are the 1 cup containers, and they'll just freeze into cubes like this, and I'll know that 1 cube is 1 cup of stock. So that's one way to do it. Another way to store, of course, is in glass jars. You just have to leave a little bit of room at the top for when liquids expand in glass and stuff, so that's fine too. It only can be kept in the fridge for like 5 days, so that's the thing about homemade stock versus store-bought. Store-bought, it can last in the fridge for like a couple weeks. Homemade, it just can't. So this little guy looks good so far. This one is, the big one is taking a while. This one's gonna take a while to boil, but this one is definitely getting there. Question for you, what do you use your stock in? Tell me in the comments. I'm definitely gonna make some chicken soup this week. I'm stoked to do that. I just ran out, and my chicken soup stash is what keeps me going when I don't feel like cooking. This is looking good. It smells good already. So you can see this is all stuff we're gonna scrape out. This whole layer, we do not want this going on. See that? And it's clear underneath. This is normal. If you see this when you're making stock, it's okay, it's normal, it's gonna happen. We just take a little bit out. I'm scooping it out into this bowl. It's a different color because, again, we're using like meat that was cooked, and I think that's why it's a little bit darker than usual. It smells really good. It really just like smells like chicken soup in here now, and I am very happy with that. Who needs candles when you can make chicken stock, you know? So we're gonna add some parsley. These are parsley stems from my falafel that I made earlier this week. And we're also gonna add some carrot peels, right? So these are all scraps that I've frozen and saved. And they're all just gonna go in. There's some garlic peels going on in there. What else we got? More garlic, onion peels in here. This is basically where we wanna be. I've skimmed off the fat. There's definitely some more in here, but it's okay. I'll get the rest later. Bring it to a boil, then bring it back to a simmer and let it sit here literally for 2 hours. One trick, if you find that you've cooked your stock for 2 hours and it's still a little bit watery and it's like not the taste you really want, all you have to do is keep cooking it down, right? You just keep the heat on it, and excess water will evaporate so that it will be more flavorful. This is the carcass that I was using. It's slowly starting to come to a boil, and you can see some of the fat. It's much clearer because this was raw and not cooked at all, whereas this one's a little darker because it was made with some cooked bones. So the color of these is definitely gonna be different, but they're still both gonna be really good. I have a veggie broth video that shows a very similar process, so using the scraps for something else just makes me feel really good and not just throwing them in the trash. You can get a lot out of your vegetables, you know, get your money's worth and make your stock at home. I can't remember the last time I bought stock. I live in the city, so I have to lug everything home on foot, and I love not carrying heavy things of stock and all that stuff. So it's the labor, it's the cost. I mean, what more could you want? So it's been 2 hours since I started the stock. This one is ready to go for sure. This one needs a little bit more time. I could just taste it, right? This one just has more flavor in it, it's ready. This one has less flavor because I have more water in it, and it needs just to cook a little more. So we're gonna bring this over to the counter and I'm gonna strain it. So I have my pot here, and I'm just going to strain it like that. Leaving all that stuff in the pot. That's all left in there. So here is our first batch of chicken stock. This is what it looks like. It's a good color. I'm very into that. And I'm going to put it in this jar. I'm going to strain it again. So that gave me like maybe 2 cups of stock. This is a smaller pot. The bigger pot should give me a little bit more. So this can last in the fridge for 5 days. After it cools down, I'm going to stick it in there. If any fat rises to the top, I'll just scrape it off, no big deal. And that is chicken stock. Really appreciate you being here. I hope that this inspired you to level up your cooking skills. Do try this out at home. Get those chicken bones, get your vegetables, boil up a pot, and get going with that. It's a great skill to have. And I will see you tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're doing yet, but thank you for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock.